Let's get started though, and we'll call the October general meeting of the St. John's Neighborhood Association to order at 7:05 p.m. My name is SJNA. I'm the chair of the St. John's Neighborhood Association. Scattered amongst you are other members of the board. And we have a few key items of business this evening, but first, thanks for coming out to everybody in person, everybody on Zoom. It is really great to see the turnout and be excited about what we have moving forward, coming ahead as a neighborhood. A little bit of housekeeping to talk about. There are live translated captions available on Zoom. So if you would prefer a language other than English, there's an option at the bottom of the Zoom there to turn on translated captions. So please do so if that is helpful for you, and please tell others if it would be helpful for them. Yes, the one downfall of this setup is the people on Zoom cannot see the room, but I promise it's not just me. It does look like it is just me in the corner of the St. John's Bachelor Club, but we've got a solid group of, I don't know, 25 people, if my mental math works here. And we also have about 25 people on Zoom. So it's a nice turnout this evening, and thank you again for being here. Now, I always try to go over this at the beginning, what makes someone a member of the St. John's Neighborhood Association. And it is pretty simple. If you live in St. John's or Cathedral Park, and that is of any status, you rent, you own, you houseless, anything, you are a member. And we have also anybody who owns a business, property in the neighborhood, works for a nonprofit that does significant work in the neighborhood. You're all also members. And the final thing is there's no sort of voting or attendance requirement to be a member. So it's not a case where you had to show up to the past 2 meetings to be able to vote in anything this evening. If you're here and you meet any of those requirements, you can vote this evening, you can participate, you're a member, and you're a voting member right away. So trying to be as just inclusive to everybody as possible. So thank you for being here and for bringing your voting hats. You may have seen the agenda. We sent it around ahead of time. This evening, we have to elect the new board, the 2024-25 board for the Neighborhood Association. And then we actually have Eduardo Arizaga from Multnomah County Library, who's here to update us on the plans for outreach and service during the renovation of the St. John's Library. We'll have any updates from community organizations like the Boosters, the Center for Opportunity, and then go through some updates from the board. So there's a lot to get through, and we'll try to move quickly and yet responsibly through all of this here. And so the first item up for bid is the most fun. It's just approving the September general meeting minutes. So this was sent out throughout the week via email. We have it here in the room, and I'll drop the link into the chat on Zoom so anybody there can access it easily and bring it right up. This usually we take 1 minute to just kind of scan through. Anybody can call out a mistake or a change needed, and then we'll move to pass these. So please, if there are any, I'll go Bernadine and then
Juan is listed both as a board member and a member present.
All right. That's 2 votes. That's impressive. Everybody dreams of an extra vote. Let me see if there we go. Okay. And Duncan, you should be up in the board members. Yeah, there we go. All righty. Great. Anything else in there? Yes, Lena.
Last name is spelled wrong. It's an R, not an N.
Great. Thank you. And then I think I saw a hand on Zoom. Yeah, Brad, go ahead. Oh, you're still muted there.
Sorry.
No worries.
Fairly inconsequential, but there's a blurb about the street painting and block party, and it's actually was at North Tyler and North Seneca rather than Tioga. Just for
Thank you. Okay. Yes, Bernadine.
On number 7,
Number 7.
the board voted on Paul's letter. Was just the board at the general meeting, or was it the general meeting population voted on it? I wasn't here.
Yeah, I was not present at this meeting either for the board that was. I imagine it was the full membership voted.
Yeah, that's my bad. Just a typo on my part.
Full membership voted.
membership.
7B, where it talks about Brad Glenn, the block party in the street. It talks about, and that they won by a simple majority. They voted to see if we should look into donating art funds. But there's no mention of who made the motion, what the motion was, and the second.
And to clarify this to members, as a board at our meeting, because there was a restricted fund, we were actually able to vote and approve this so that we could get that money to the block party for the painting and leave this question. So we were still able to move forward and disperse the funds and get that through via a board vote. But yes, there's not the record of the
6A says Rebecca spoke on the District 2. It should be the number 2, not the word 2.
And then I think Brad, it was on Zoom, was maybe gonna chime in potentially on that last note about the motion in the second.
And on board updates.
No. Yes, Brad.
Number 5. It's talks about safety and livability. It's a pass site and it's PASF. Pass.
Great. Is there any amendment to make to that part about the lack of motion and second on the block party there, or?
I don't think there's much else you can do with the moment. I wasn't there, you weren't there.
Yeah.
And nobody else knows exactly who did it. And the board came back and
Right.
at their meeting dealt with the situation. And we're fine.
Okay. And yeah, Seamus?
Letter where it's not carried. Why is the block party thing?
Sure.
That to me is forgetting to re-bold it for number 8. No, I was just not putting it just pressing enter.
Okay. Are there any other updates or corrections to be made to September's meeting minutes? All right. Do I have a motion to approve the September general meeting minutes?
Yeah, I move to approve September meeting minutes.
Great. And there's there a second?
Oh.
Oh. Who wants to win there? And usually what we do here is just look to pass by unanimous consent. So if anybody objects to the approval of these minutes, please raise your hand. If so, we'll take a vote, a roll call vote, but otherwise they will pass unanimously. No hands on Zoom. None in the room. Okay. Passed unanimously. Thanks, folks. That's the fun part. So moving on. What we're gonna move to now is our elections, get that going and out of the way. What we're gonna look to do this evening is have an open nomination process on the floor. We already sent out an email with those who expressed interest in joining the board, and they shared a little blurb about why they were interested, just to kind of get ahead of it a little bit. And so we obviously have those, but anybody could stand and either nominate themselves or someone else to join the board. So there'll be an open floor for nominations. We will collect all the nominations for the board. And then we will move on from there into voting. So what we can look to do, what I would do first is actually, I'm going to go through the list of people who submitted blurbs, ask if they're present, if they would like to share anything additionally, or if they're, confirming their nomination for a spot on the board. So 1 second while I bring that up. You're going to see into the back end of our MailChimp, but you know what? That's fine. If anybody wants the role of sending emails, here you go. Here's the sneak peek. These are in alphabetical order here. So the first person listed is Sonia Cutter. I don't know if you're here in the room or on Zoom, you raise your hand. If you'd still like to be considered for a space on the board. Now, one has to be present to be elected, or actually don't, I assume so, but actually don't. There's no proxy voting, but well then. All right, no Sonia. Alphabetically next is myself. So yeah, I guess I will stand to run again for the board. I've been on the board for 2+ years. I was the chair the past year and basically learned a lot and would like to apply that moving forward and continue the work. So no, thanks. So I will move on to Duncan Cattell. Would you like to stand and nominate?
Yeah, I'll stand and nominate.
All right.
myself. Yeah.
That's yeah, we'll do it that way. That's if you don't mind speaking into this microphone, is that one will work? And we'll hopefully get a good audio for the people on Zoom.
Can you hear me?
Wow, yeah.
Can you hear me on Zoom? Maybe that's one important question.
Zoom, can you hear Duncan? Yep, we got a yes.
Awesome. Okay, so hi everyone. My name is Duncan Cattell. Just really quickly about myself. I grew up in Portland. I've lived all over, primarily grew up in Southwest Portland, but have lived in Northeast, Southeast, Northwest, and now St. John's for the past almost 3 years. About 10 months ago, I joined the board. I would say that's definitely a learning process. Really just joined to be more involved, meet people in the community, understand the issues impacting all of us. This year, I'd like to be a little bit more involved. So RJ has been the primary driver of organizing salt cleanups. I'd like to take that duty away from him so he can focus on other chair duties. Additionally, you may have heard why we're meeting in here. Great venue, by the way. Thank you to the Bachelor Club members. So you may have heard we used to be able to meet in Portland Public Schools for free, and there was an accounting or bookkeeping error on the back end. So now we will have to pay to rent space. One of the things I did last year is a fundraiser for St. John's Neighborhood Association. We sold hats at the bazaar. Bernadine can correct me, but I do believe it was a net positive. So this year I'd like to be more involved in fundraising to pay for places where we'll have to rent for our meetings. Thanks.
Thanks, Duncan. Appreciate it. Up next on the list is Bernadine Lee. If you want to step right up.
I'm Bernadine Lee. I've been the treasurer for 5 years here and stuff. I lived in St. John since 1958. Graduated Roosevelt. Have 6 kids that graduated Roosevelt, one that graduated Benson, and one that graduated Madison. So you can spread out. I enjoy the position I have. I also deal with BottleDrop and stuff, but that's because I like doing that. I do that for another nonprofit also.
So BottleDrop fundraising efforts, right?
Yeah. And stuff. And I want to stay in this position. And so that's why I'm running for the board again.
I should note too, those who submitted blurbs, you don't have to come up. I could just read also your blurb. I forgot to mention that. So no pressure to, like, if you don't want to stand up in front of a crowd or something like that. So my apologies for not clarifying that from the start. Next. Yeah. I just wanted Duncan to stand up there and look silly. Up next is Justin. Is Justin? Oh, great. Would you like me to read the blurb, or you want to come up, or come on up?
Hey everyone, I'm Justin. So, kind of a quick spark notes of my.
Do you want to go first?
My family's lived in St. John's area for 3 generations. Grew up born and raised in between Portsmouth and St. John's. So, yeah, I currently volunteer on the Urban Forestry Commission for the city of Portland. So, a little bit of experience with like city code and working in city bureaus. And yeah, I just want to join the board and help serve the neighborhood and be more connected with everyone.
Great. Thanks so much. All right. And next on the list is the only Paul Rippey. I know you're on Zoom, Paul.
Yeah, just well, I left a blurb. I want to keep doing what I've been doing, just do it better. You know, I've been working with the block parties. And by the way, I haven't announced this year. We did 24. We didn't do any. Y'all did 24. Year before it was 31, but this year they were really good. So the number was down a little bit, but I think the quality was just great. So there you go. And and thank you all for doing that. And I just want to actually work on doing a better job than I did this year of harnessing the energy and the enthusiasm of the people who have put on block parties, because you guys know how to do it. You are actually experts. So I just want to go forward. And I do think, you know, it's like, I've been on the board, and this will be the third term, good Lord. And I think this is just getting better and better. Honestly, just say this objectively, I wouldn't lie. I think that we've got a good board, and it's moving in the direction of being really a great neighborhood association. I want to help that any way I can.
Thank you, Paul. And up next, we have Brennan Scarlett. I know I saw Brennan, you're on Zoom. Just let me know if you'd want me to read off your blurb, or if you want to say a few words.
No, I'll go ahead and share. I
Great.
appreciate it, RJ.
Yeah.
My name is Brennan Scarlett. I've served for 1 year on the board of the St. John's Neighborhood Association. Really enjoyed this past year. I was born and raised in North Portland. My parents live over there. I operate a nonprofit that serves North Portland and Northeast Portland youth called the Big Yard Foundation. Being a part of the board has given me a great opportunity just to stay connected with the neighborhood and understand what's going on, any opportunities to kind of integrate the foundation and serve the youth. And I'm also a property owner in St. John, so also, have an invested interest of the well-being of our neighborhood and would love to continue to serve on the board.
Thanks so much, Brennan. Appreciate it. Appreciate your time. And we've got Brooklyn here in the room. Come on up, Brooklyn.
Yeah, I'm not much of a blurb guy, sorry about that. But yeah, I've been helping out AJ here, actually, he's been more helping me out, trying to just figure out what's going on with the library. As you guys know, today it's closed. So if you guys walk out of here, you'll see that it's closed. So I just want to continue communications with them, try to see what we can do to help our community when it's closed, because obviously I don't want to have to drive out to Northwest Portland, to check out a book. And, I'm just gonna try to see what I can accomplish. I've been getting the runaround so far, but I'm gonna keep on trying.
And up next is Karina. Karina, would you like me to read the blurb or do you want to? Great, come on up.
Hi everyone, my name is Karina. I've been in North Portland for about a little over 2.5 years, and St. John's coming up in a year, November. Really love this neighborhood, been able to make really good friendships and relationships with my neighbors here. So just really looking to be a little more involved. I work as a community outreach specialist with Ride Connections, so transportation and accessibility is right up my alley. So that's why I'm really interested in the safety, accessibility, can't say that right, a transportation chair board position, but yeah, just really want to be able to help Duncan with the south cleanups, go to the safety meetings and the environmental monthly meetings as well, be able to report your guys' concerns and report back as well in these monthly meetings. And yeah, thanks for having me.
Thanks so much. All right, up next, we've got Juan. Hey, Juan.
Well, this is everybody's little.
Hello, everyone. My name is Juan. I grew up in Mexico and I learned English in school. And I moved to St. John's in January of 2023, and I've been in the board since then. And back then I didn't have a lot going on, so I was doing a lot of volunteering and a lot of things. So I worked a lot with the Frog Ferry and with the CEI Hub. I mean, not with them, but like trying to figure out that solution, And I've been, like, the last role I have with the board was the outreach communications, things like that. And I've since got a job, and it's been like hard for me to like try to get, and also I have a business in St. John's. We sell salsa on the farmers market. So I have a lot going on. So I would like to still be a member and help however much I can help. But I also encourage everyone else to be a member of the board, because the more people we have is the better just for everyone else in the neighborhood, and better events and meetings and all of that.
Thank you. Thank you. So that's everyone who submitted a blurb, and nominations are open for anybody in the room or on Zoom who would like to toss their hat in the ring, or try to toss someone else's hat in the ring and see if they will be okay with that. All right. Yes. Oh, sorry. Yeah, sure. Yeah, come on up. Sorry for the maze.
So we didn't get the assignment in on time, but Lisa Garcia, my husband Tom and I lived in St. John's for about 2 years, and we just want to help the board and the community in any way that we can. So we'd be happy to take on whatever tasks people want to send their way with it.
Thanks so much, Lisa.
Lisa Garcia.
Hello, my name is Tom Grace. This just said we moved here to St. John's a couple of years ago. We were lucky enough to buy a home here, and it was really the only neighborhood we considered. We just love it here, and I personally have been in the last several years feeling a need to maybe start participating in some way in the world, because of the world. And I can't think of a better way of doing it at this level, where I feel like I can do the most. So yeah, I'm open to helping out with whatever I can and finding a role. Yeah.
Thanks so much. All right. Yes, you have a nomination. All right, Ashley. Yeah, so yeah, thank you. Is that ASHLEY?
It is.
Great.
Be at the end of
Oh, how are you?
LANG.
G, thank you.
Yep. My name's Ashley and I live right next to the Red Sea Church. I grow flowers, and so I interact with a bunch of people just because they come by and they see my garden and they want to talk about all the flowers in my yard. We've been here for 5 years. I have not been involved at all. This is my first meeting, but I am a recovering event coordinator. So I have a feeling I could probably be of help if necessary or wanted. I interacted with Paul at our block party on Kellogg Street just about a month ago, and it was great. And I got to hear a lot about what the board is doing and what they're pushing to educate neighborhood neighbors. And so I thought that was really cool that we're actually doing more like outreach stuff for individual families and getting information out that's important that most people don't have access to because they don't know where to get it. And so that was great too. So if Paul needs a fill in occasionally, I'd be happy to hang out at block parties because they're always a good time. What else? I have a really old dog, so I'm home a lot now. So I might as well stick around the neighborhood and make use of my time. So thanks.
Thanks so much. And I see a hand raised on Zoom. You can go ahead, Matt.
Hi, yeah. So I'm still relatively new here. We've been here less than a year, but very much love the area. Something that I'm very big on is kind of transportation, getting around safely, especially we love, walking around the neighborhood. And there's a lot of investment both happening and coming with the North Portland in Motion plan. That's something I've been following with a lot of interest. And if folks would find it useful, I wanted to throw out the offer of, sharing information on how that's going, keeping tabs on it, potentially raising community concerns with PBOT and ODOT. So if that's something that would be helpful, then want to volunteer to do so.
Great. Thanks, Matt. And yeah, absolutely. That's something where we've been in contact with PBOT throughout, and they'll, come to meetings on the latest plans or whatnot, but having somebody like sort of dedicated to handle that is absolutely useful. So appreciate your interest. All right. Now, is there anybody else who's interested? I will say there's 15 spots on the board. So we still haven't reached that number even. So there's always more room, but yeah, Joe.
Hi, everybody. My name is Joe. My wife and I, Leah, have been in Portland for 9 years and St. John specifically for 4 years, almost 5 now. Really, I'm just looking to get more engaged in the community and help out wherever I can. NC, HENSE.
Thanks, Joe. Appreciate it. We're at 14, which is. Yeah. Yeah. I'll be honest, again, I've been with the board a little more than 2 years. This is the most I've ever seen in terms of people running. And so thank you so very much. It really like exponentially grows what we're able to do by having more people join onto the board and take on different roles and responsibilities. So thank you so very much to those 14. Now, does anybody want to be number 15? No pressure. In the Zoom chat, oh, Donna, it was Joe Hensey was the last person to speak. Okay.
They could also just join at any time, right?
That is correct. Yeah, we can, people interested in joining the board, as long as there's open spots to fill, can join in the future. But in this case, there'd be one open slot. So that might get taken up in 2 months, and then we're at the capacity for the rest of the year. So but yeah, there is that option to fill that last vacant spot at any point throughout the term.
Archie, what does the board do?
Ooh, what does the board do? Now, the next 35 minutes will be taken up. So the board is responsible for the operation of SJNA. So in a lot of nonprofits, you might have a board and it's more as a consulting or helping with fundraising and that side of thing, bringing their expertise to a professional nonprofit. We're very much a working board. So we are basically charged with doing everything, making sure the organization runs and moving forward. There's 15 board slots. The reason we haven't gone into specific positions is at the general meeting, we just elect board members, and then the elected board is actually who determines the officers within that. So there's 7 named positions, and then there are 8, is that math right? Yeah. 8 at-large positions. Thank you. So there's chair, vice chair, secretary, and treasurer. We need those 4 to exist as an organization. And it's a lot of work making sure it runs, making sure it exists. Bernadine spends so many hours making sure our forms are current with the state and all of those things, because we are a 501c3 and running the meetings, doing all that stuff. The next 3 named positions, we have safety and livability team chair, we have outreach chair, we have the land use chair. And that's where I like to think is like, those are the drivers of the neighborhood association. That's where the real work is going on and moving forward. Their focus is on a wide variety of issues and topics. And I kind of look at it as 2 things. We do considering and hopefully enhancing the livability of the neighborhood and enhancing its community and bringing it together. And if we don't do those 2 things, we're going to be very successful. So outreach is a very important pillar on the community side and bringing people together, sharing of knowledge, sharing of information, sharing of updates. And then safety and livability, land use, that's a lot of on the, to the point about transportation and making sure our voices are heard on the next PBOT project or ODOT for that matter. There's a lot of sort of things that we plug into with the city. It's a little sort of interesting kind of official, but not really role with the city government. And like we have to, developers or people looking to develop a property in St. John's the land use notices have to be submitted to the neighborhood association. So we get all the stuff that is going to be being developed in the neighborhood, and we get those notifications and what the comment periods are. And so we can make people aware of that, and if there's something that we want to act upon or not. So it all boils down to bringing the community together and having a livable community in many different sense of the word. And those 3 named positions are what drive that forward. And the at-large board members are there really to help support in that. So like in outreach, there's many different roles, right? You need to post to social media, you need to send emails, you need to update the website, you need to organize an event, you need to fundraise even, operates under that. So, there's all the at-large board members. You just were on the outreach committee. Congratulations. So, yes, sorry, I'll stop there, but that's my hopefully brief synopsis of what we do and what the board members themselves do. Any questions? Oh, okay. Kelly, yes, absolutely. You can nominate and speak on Zoom if you wish to come off mute.
Are you sure? I don't know if you can you hear me?
Yeah, we can hear you.
Y'all can hear me? Oh, I am so sorry that I am not there tonight. My heart's beating so fast. I kind of had a feeling if I came, I would run. So I've lived in St. John's for 12 years, just rental to rental. I've been kicked. I've had houses sold out from underneath me. And so I'm now in my 6th rental just in St. John's alone. I currently live over right next to the community center. I went to that Kellogg party and I know those flowers well. So beautiful. I love it. Thank you so much. I pass by them every day. We walk through the farmers market, everything central, we call it downtown and everything like that. I've been big part of like the parade and the commute, parade and the bazaar, actually performed puppet shows at the bazaar. Woot woot. And I call myself the biggest St. John's cheerleader, and I have thought about being on the board for years. So you know what? I would love to be a part even deeper in this community, because marching in the parade, going to community events, and being in the bazaar evidently isn't enough. So if there's room, if you'll have me, I am like the St. John's like biggest cheerleader, and I obviously love this community very, very much.
Thank you, Kelly.
Thank
Two
you.
things. First, there's no official named position of St. John's cheerleader, but like it can be an unofficial role on the board. That's fine. But just your last name, please, for the meeting minutes.
Yeah, it's Kelly Campbell.
Great.
Like the soup.
Okay. All right, and we're out of time here. So any very last glance around here? Nobody in the room, nobody on Zoom. Okay. So we have exactly 15, which would fill every seat on the board, but it also means that we don't have to eliminate somebody necessarily from this. We're not over it. So what we will look to do is actually, yes, Brittany.
I'd like to make the motion that we vote on this as a slate
Great.
of board members.
Thank
So
you.
all 15 names would be voted on at one time
Thank you, Bernadine.
instead of individually.
Great. So Bernadine makes the motion to approve this as the slate of candidates, where you would approve all 15 together at once. Oh, Jesse, everybody second. And so, and by our bylaws, it just requires a majority vote, and it does not require balloting, but it actually accepts voice vote or hands raised as well. So what we're going to do is a simple, everybody raise their hand if you approve this slate of board members, and also do it on Zoom. And Duncan, can you double check the count in the room, please, to see how many hands are in here? We just need it for the official record. Obviously, the slate has been approved, but please keep your hand up. Thank you. And use the raised hand function on Zoom, please, folks. It'll be under React.
Oh, yeah, okay.
26. All right, thank you in the room. You can go ahead and lower your hands on Zoom. Keep them up. Let's see here. I just gotta. Yeah. Great. Thank you, Juan. And with that, that is majority. Welcome to the board, everybody. Thank you so much. Very, very exciting. Now there's gonna be a 6-hour meeting following this to kind of plan out the entire year. I'm kidding. Okay, so moving on to the next order of business. We're talking about the St. John's Library. If you don't mind coming up here, we have, would you prefer Eddie or Edward? Great, great, okay. If you don't mind sitting here so people on.
Oh,
can see
perfect.
it.
That'd be great. Okay, so I'll try and figure out. how you
Yeah.
get this out.
We'll just. Or here, you can take this one, and I'll just sit next here and work the computer.
Thank you. Hello, everyone. My name is Eduardo Orizaga. Eddie, use he, him pronouns. I'm the Community Engagement Manager with Multnomah County Library. What that means for my role is I manage and oversee and implement the vision and the strategy for how we serve our communities of focus through the Multnomah County Library services. By community of focus, what we refer to that at Multnomah County Library is communities that have been subject to marginalization due to traditional styles of service delivery. And for the library, this includes the communities of languages and culture specifically. And in language, we support services for Spanish, Vietnamese, Russian, Chinese, and Somali community members. And for our communities of culture, that includes services to the Black and African American community, the Indigenous community, LGBTQIA plus community, and also for people experiencing houselessness and people incarcerated and through reentry services. I think I got everyone on my team, but so part of my role in overseeing this, some of the projects is been what we refer to our continuity of library services for the past 4 years. The library has been moving forward with the bond effort that was approved by voters in 2020 to implement new library buildings and services throughout Multnomah County Library. We just opened our first library building due to that bond work. That's the Holgate Library, and we'll be opening the Midland Library in about a month or this month. So part of the work that we were looking and strategizing and trying to put in place is how do we serve communities best while we close our buildings? This has looked different in the last 4 years. Some of you may or may not recall what things were like March 13th of 2020, but that's when the library closed due to COVID. And we have implemented different strategies of service since then, ranging from door service, ranging from limited entry services, and bringing back programming little over 18 months ago. So it's been kind of a roller coaster ride of how we've been looking at strategies of services and community engagement. I'm here to speak more specifically now, bringing it more centrally to the services here in the St. John's Library with the closure of the building. I'll give a brief overview of what service looks like at the moment, what are community engagement efforts, sites that we're looking at for service delivery, and here to field questions, comments that you all have. Before I start, I do want to check in. How are we on time? Or will you nudge me or let me know how this is going?
Yeah, I'll let you know.
So we understand at Multnomah County Library that closing any library building is a hardship. For many community members, it's a pathway to get basic services, including restrooms, water, shelter during adverse weather, whether that's heat, cold, or rain. So we understand that closing a building has really deep impacts for individuals beyond just being able to utilize the library services. It's a space, it's a place of community gathering. So we know that closing buildings for this work isn't easy. It isn't easy because there's challenges that we must go through and overcome, especially when thinking about how we navigate or patch or band-aid services. So part of the efforts of what we have that we're looking at right now is looking at services using 2 different tools at Multnomah County Library. One of them is called the Community of Opportunity Map that Multnomah County put together. That kind of takes a look at where communities are gathered or live that have the highest subject to marginalization. There's a variety of elements that go into the scores or the areas that rank highest, but it has to do with socioeconomic drivers, race, ethnicity, age, disabilities. So part of when we look at the map in St. John's and when we're trying to coordinate our initial service and service delivery is north of Fessenden and west St. John's is what I would call it, around Sitton Elementary School and Pier Park. There's housing units in that area that have the lowest available broadband, if any broadband is available to them in the area. So we know that the digital inequities are even much harder for those community members to gather around. And when I'm thinking north of Fessenden, I'm kind of thinking around George Middle School and kind of that general vicinity, kind of west of Columbia. So that's where we're strategizing some of our services and looking at how we connect, especially with school-age children and their families. So we're doing some services at those schools, including Sitton, as I mentioned, and George Middle School. I know St. John's community and this neighborhood association is really focused on perhaps just St. John's and Cathedral Park. When we look at that service area and who we're serving at the St. John's Library, we understand that those barriers or those imaginary lines don't quite define the community, right? And I know folks may not view community that's east of the cut as being part of St. John's, but when we think about St. John's in the library, we think about that expansive nature of it. So, thinking about St. John's and St. John's services and who utilizes the library, from our data that we have, it kind of goes out all the way to about McCoy Park and the New Columbia housing units area. So, we encompass that and really think about that service delivery and the gap that exists. So that's another site. So we're looking at different housing sites as well, where we can go in and connect and use community spaces. New Columbia being one of them, Ridgecrest. I have to take a look at my notes here and I can take some of the other ones if you're probably interested, and I guess give good notes. Parkside Commons, Cathedral Gardens, The Woods, Pier Park Apartments, and Bristol Court Apartments. We've also been visiting, we just visited this past week, the Shrunk Apartments as well. So we're really trying to think about going in, we have some assumptions based on what people share, what they would like to see from library services, and we go in with some of those and kind of some of our educated guesses as well, and also try to redevelop the service on our next visit. We're still trying to develop what the arc looks like as far as continuous delivery of service at those sites and continuity. That, as someone mentioned earlier, the St. John's Library just closed this past week. So working with the schedules of the staff members who were assigned to that location and trying to strategize to still have them connected and involved in the community. So you may have visited the story times that were going on at the St. John's Community Center. That's another site that we're looking at with some potential services. And another tool that we have at the Multnomah County Library that we're trying to implement is something called the Mobile Library Tech Van. I don't know how many of you visited it when it was a delivery service on Northeast 122nd and Gleason. But it's a mobile tech van, not really a bookmobile. But what it can do is pull into services into areas and possibly deliver services. So some of what we're looking at, some sites where we might be able to park that. It doesn't stay overnight. It drives in, it drives out. We have a driver, and there's certain things, accoutrements that we need to have to meet OSHA regulations and provide a workable environment for the staff who are working at that site, including restrooms, place to take their breaks. So these are all things that we look at and are investigating at the moment. In fact, earlier today, just had one of the drivers out here in the neighborhood looking at some sites. I did some mapping. I don't drive the vehicle myself, so I wanted to pull in someone who does to say, do you think you could park that there? My educated guess is yes, but as someone who's not going to be assigned to do that, I really want to check in with the person who will be doing that work. So there's some potential sites. We've been talking with, I may get the name wrong. I think it's Pastor John at the church across the street at the Portland Christian Church. Is that correct? Am I getting pastor's name right? Pastor Josh, thank you. That was close. Possibly even looking at the parking lot here or in this general vicinity. That is kind of where we're at with some of the service delivery and really trying to check in with the communities that we've been visiting sites and really getting their input and feedback of what would you like to see. I know holds is something that folks are really anxious and really want to know what would that delivery look like, especially if you're unable to travel to a library location. The Multnomah County Library actually has a service that's developed in order to meet this need, especially for people who might be temporarily homebound or unable to visit a library location, and we can mail holds to people free of charge at no charge to the individual. This can be on a short-term basis, longer-term basis. There's various reasons why someone would not be able to visit a public library, and all of that can be delivered or worked through the process by contacting the library at the library phone number, which I can leave with the notes afterwards or emails them, or you can contact us via the library website. So that's another tool that's available. We're looking at, we also, sorry, I'll back up a little bit. I can start going fast. If I'm going too fast, please let me know. There's also book lockers. We're looking at potentially trying to cite that. If you have visited the Rockwood Library, the Holgate Library, or the Woodstock Library, you'll see that there are some lockers physically outside. They kind of look like your Amazon lockers if you've seen those outside of, I'm gonna say Black Pantry, but I don't know if there's a Black Pantry near here or not. But if you're outside of Black Pantry, 7-Eleven, you'll see these book lockers and you can go in. So we're looking at some potential sites to try to cite one in the St. John's community, but really try to look at different strategies and ways that we can do something sustainably. By sustainably, I mean something that we start and then we can maintain and manage and continue to deliver throughout the duration of the library being closed, and something that's resilient, meaning that we're not dictated on how we deliver that service based on an individual. Attrition happens, life happens, and with that, we want to make sure that whatever we set up, it's something that we will be able to do through the duration of the closure, and really think about how we might expand that during certain months where the weather is a little bit more productive to try to meet with people in the community, such as Storytown Park or the St. John Park sites. I just said a lot.
Great.
I know that's a lot to digest, and probably notes. I see a hand up already, or
Yeah.
chats coming in. Can someone?
Yeah,
I can take that for me.
Yeah, and you addressed this, so I just want to see if there's anything else in the ecosystem for it, but someone talked about many people have the question about potential for a local holds pickup location. So was everything you kind of mentioned everything on the holds front, or is there anything else that would address the concerns about the holds pickup?
So the question right now that RJ mentioned is someone asking in the chat about a holds pickup. So right now, the way we're looking at holds is either through a book locker, being able to mail people's homes if they physically cannot visit one of the library location. And I would be hesitant to say that, well, that's something we'd be able to wrap into the mobile tech van, primarily due to some constraints that come up with the van. Weather, wind, where when I say van, I'm referring to a 40-foot long RV that's 14 feet tall and about 8.5 feet wide. So there, under certain weather conditions, it cannot operate, and some of it is wind. So because of that, I want to be transparent and above the board with you all what is on the table currently for being able to manage and deliver a service to set something up that we can launch, fulfill, and possibly look at expanding later. But right now, I'm just really trying to share with you all what we have cards out.
Thank you. And then Brooklyn, you can go ahead.
Yeah, so obviously I've been in emails with Sean and Hannah and whatnot, and they've gone over some of the stuff you've gone over. But like with the instance, you guys, every time I've talked to all of you, you're always just so vague with me. So like, what do you mean by George? Like, I am friends with the librarian there. They just cut her to half-time this school year. What are you guys actually doing to talk to her? Because she hasn't told me anything with you guys.
Yeah, so sorry, didn't mean to cut you off. I think the question there was asking about more details of what that service looks like at George Middle School or at any school site. We have a couple of different programs that operate out of the Multnomah County Library. It's going to sound very jargony, but one of them is called School Corps. The other one's called Books to You. And this is service delivery provided by library staff members that push into the school sites. They reach out to different people at the school, whether that's the media specialist, the librarian, the administrator. There's different people. We start knocking early in August to try to get on people's doors. And so part of this is setting up a time to be able to push in, share information with school-age children, right? One of the things that school-age children may not know, if you're a student registered in anywhere in Multnomah County, you actually have a library account. And we use the term library account because while we may think about library cards being the access that grants you service into a library, it's actually a library account that provides that for you. And every school-age child has that from pre-K to 12th grade, so they have access to all the digital resources in the e-library and other things that we might be able to provide for them as well. So when we're talking about when we push in, we try to push in and we bring in books for them. There's different things that we can try to, it's service delivery based on the need or what the description is.
We're gonna move on. There's a lot of other questions in the Zoom and in the room as well. So we're gonna make sure that everybody gets heard here and in the time that we have allotted for this. So we're gonna go ahead to Donna on the Zoom.
Yeah, hi. I'm really glad to hear you mention north of Fessenden, St. Louis, and in particular, the 4 large apartment complexes that are north of Pier Park, because roughly almost a sixth of the whole population of St. John's live in those 4 apartment complexes. And those complexes and the whole area north of Fessenden is economically more low income than St. John's as a whole, and it's more diverse, and you have more single parents, and any expectation that folks are going to be able to get to Kenton to pick up and return books is unrealistic and would be very unfair to, the whole of St. John's, but especially to the folks living, in the communities in the areas that I just mentioned. So I really think that if the words of Multnomah County Library in regard to serving, underserved populations and marginalized groups mean anything, then you will arrange for services, including pickups and holds and other things for St. John's, and especially, to make sure that you're not far away from north of Fessenden, St. Louis.
Thank you, Donna.
Thank you.
And there was another hand in the room. I saw yours first, and then we'll go back to Zoom, and then we'll go to you. So yes, please go ahead.
Yeah, I was just curious, when you do the promoters and mailables, how does someone return it? Is there pre-kid postage or?
Yeah, it's there's return postage that comes with the bag. So your holds come in a I can say watertight, but a bag that keeps the material dry. It comes in, delivered in your mailbox. You finish the item and there's a little card that comes with it. You turn it around and the postage comes back to the library.
We'll go with Caroline on Zoom.
Okay, hi. I'm a senior citizen and I'm feeling like a pretty disgruntled Multnomah County taxpayer right about now. I just feel that the library has kind of hung us out to dry, and I find it very bizarre that right now they're talking about maybe this and maybe that. And I agree that we've had no concrete answers since, June or something. I mean, people have been asking and getting very vague answers, and I'm really honestly disappointed in the process. And if nothing else comes out of this, don't do it this way. If you're going to shut a major branch for 18 months, have a plan in advance of, well, gee, what should we do instead? It's a dense, urban, diverse neighborhood serving schools that have already been mentioned. So I'm really pretty peeved about this. And I feel, well, I read in Willamette Week like 6 months ago that the library spent $400,000 on some sort of bookmobile. And I feel like at a minimum, we should have a bookmobile visit optimally at least twice a month. Once a week would be just lovely, but I would settle for once a month. I just don't feel that the library's been proactive, and I'm honestly disappointed. Thank you.
I appreciate the comment.
Okay, and we'll go in the room. I saw a hand. Yes, yeah, please go ahead.
We have a lovely parking space right behind the outlets. It's a big piece of street parking that's always available. It's right next to Fred Meyer. And so there's people are regularly there to shop or.
Thank you.
Is that a street parking you're saying? Like,
Street parking that.
So just in case, Paul, you're writing it down, North Ida and Kellogg, or just to get into the minutes in the future, but Yeah.
I have a question. So you said you're getting the librarians at the schools involved. And Brooklyn, you were talking about the librarian in George, who I don't know, but I know the librarian in James John, who my kids go there. And they, PBS has just cut a lot of them down to part-time. So when you're getting them involved, does that mean you're giving them like more work to do? Or is it you guys are sending someone in there to support them and help them with that?
So the service, the way it looks at the moment is we coordinate with the media specialist who connects with either classroom teachers or other individuals at the site. So we push into the classrooms and deliver service there, such as book talks, crates of books get delivered where kids can take material home and then bring it back and then we pick it up. Usually sometime at the end of the month, or sometimes leave crates and then pick them up at the end of the school year. Yeah. So this isn't extra work that we're pushing into the schools. It's we push into the classrooms. It's more where the service is delivered. Yeah.
We'll go to someone on Zoom here. We've got Christine. Christine Van Halder. Okay. Yeah. Okay, we'll go to one in the room then. Yeah, Karina.
So I was actually at the Shrunk Riverview Tower event.
Cool.
So I met Stephanie White, the house
Nice.
program coordinator there, and something I really appreciated about that event was it was something that the residents there, which are the majority of them are seniors and low income, and they were already involved in that. It wasn't something that the library had to pull them out or we had to pull them out. I was there for my job for our connection. But the library, you all already had crates of books that people can take. They didn't have to return. And Stephanie was there providing houseless services as well and other services as well. But that's something that I think could be very impactful to keep having in these areas and in other public areas as well for folks. I think could make a big difference.
Thank you. Yeah. If the more housing, if there's places, if there's connections that you make or where you could feel that, service delivery for what I would refer to as congruent living, like please contact RJ and, we're in connection and communicate. So that'd be very helpful. Just, I will share one of the challenges we run into with the service setup. The initial is finding the time to make that first connection, but once we lock in, we can make once we get our foot in the door, we can keep coming in. So that's the piece that we're always looking for. And we lean towards where there's traction, but we're always available to pivot when necessary.
Okay, we'll do the two more questions in the room, and then I think there's one more on Zoom. So those will be the three last questions that we get to here. So I believe I saw your hand first. Yeah, go play. Would you mind repeating the question for the people?
Yeah, the question there had to do with the reduction of hours and pay to some of the library media specialists and librarians at the schools in the area, in particular the James John Library, the librarian there had their hours cut. So the person was asking whether there's a possibility of a partnership or some way to collaborate in order to help provide services and also income to someone in the community who wants to serve the community. I wasn't aware of the reduction or what was happening in the school, so I do appreciate you sharing that, and definitely something we can look into and follow up on with the individual schools and the administrators.
Thank you. We'll go on Zoom and then to you, Ashley. Christine wrote in, I'm disabled and way before the closure went to homebound services and now that services forces me to choose an in-person pickup, which I can't do. Perhaps when trying to set up a delivery online, it's
Christine, it sounds like you had set up for mail service, but now you're being redirected to do in-person pickup. If you can connect with RJ with your contact information, I can have someone who supports the patron side of it. Sorry, don't mean to be jargony. The customer service side of it, and we can see about how we might alleviate that for you.
and the email is info@stjohnspdx.org. So for you, Christine, but anybody in the room or on Zoom, you can pass it along to me, and then I can make sure that it gets through and there. And somebody did mention in the chat, for folks comfortable biking, there's quite good bike parking at the Kenton Library. But yes, biking there from St. John's can be tricky with the routes. And I do remember the question was, is there a straightforward bus route? I do remember looking, and I remember like from Sitton to the Kenton Library, it was like a 30-minute bus ride on the 4 with a good chunk of walking included in that as well. So yeah, exactly. But yes, you had a question, do you?
Lining up parents, also with you. I know that they do both group and individual times for play, and so I don't know if you guys can drop off the doc there for people to check in and out. But it's another nonprofit organization in the community that has staff, so it'd be a good resource for you guys to check.
I'll look into that. I know there's a lot of individual connections that my colleagues at the library have themselves, and as I mentioned, some of the programs that are back of house. So I can follow up with them and see if we've connected with that site.
And Donna, it was about St. John's Swap and Play.
Yeah, Donna, someone was asking about the St. John's Swap and Play as a potential site for connecting library services to families with youth.
All right, we'll do very quickly because I know this is important. So, but yeah, go ahead, Jim.
Well, just sort of tagging on that, I heard, you have plans for school age children, you have plans for adults and folks with disabilities, but luckily my kids are grown, but I have lots of friends with toddlers who do so, I mean, it's like a refuge for them. I didn't really hear plans in there for folks with toddlers, so what specific plans do you have with that?
I can share some of that right now. So the question had to do with, we identified some age demographics, but one of them that was left off was those with toddlers. So I'm in conversation with, excuse me, because I can't remember their name at the moment, but the person who's the head of the St. John's Community Center, and we're looking at what potential use of their spaces could look like. They do rent out their spaces, so we're not trying to interfere with their after-school programs or services that they provide, but it looks like there might be some windows of time. So right now for those of you who want a little sneak peek of what happens behind the scene and ask, why does it take so long for something to go through? There's contractual and contracts that have to go back and forth between different parties. I hand them off to business services, internal to us, and so it's contractual work that's happening behind the scenes. So, but we are looking at trying to see what we might be able to set up and have on site in the area.
Yeah, go ahead.
Two, I think, really quick question. Do you have any sense on timing for a lot of these wonderful ideas that you have that we would actually do? Then also, I heard a rumor that maybe the Kenton Library about 6 months at the beginning of the year, and I didn't know if that was.
So the question had to do with timing for some of the services that I described here, and also speaking to things that the community has heard about the Kenton Library possibly closing at the beginning of the year. So I'll talk to the first parts. We've already been pushing into some of the school sites, Rosa Parks, Cesar Chavez. We're trying to get into more school sites, and for the apartments, connecting with trying to some of the sites do have, some of the apartments I mentioned especially the home forward sites have site coordinators, so we're trying to work with them to figure out like, what's the time, what's the day, and the dates that we can set up in order to visit. So some of this is in action. We hope in the next 2 weeks to kind of have a full plan of what the next 3 months look like, at least getting us to the end of the year. And if we can, you know, as quickly as we can, I should say, is communicating with RJ of how to get this message boosted through your communication channels, because obviously you all have individual communication channels. We can post all we want on our social media, on our library website, on the webpage. It will reach who we currently reach. So part of what we're trying to do with our services is go beyond that, especially with lapsed and non-library users, to be aware of what might be available to them. And then for the St. John's question, sorry, the Kenton question, the Kenton piece of that, during this bond work, we've also been doing refreshes at different library buildings. The Kenton Library is also set to have a refresh. I don't know the timeline and the date of when that's going to be in place. So the dates get moved around a lot. So I have not been informed of when that would happen. So if that's something the community has been sharing, it could be that someone may have mentioned some potential dates, but I don't know of anything firm for when that's going to happen. Yeah.
Okay. With that, we'll have to close this out here on the discussion. As mentioned, there's any further questions or suggestions or anything like that can be shared to the info at stjohnspdx.org. I copied that down, so I'll be able to email
Thank you.
you.
Oh, really
that.
appreciate it.
Yeah. And so that we can keep in contact and have it work in both directions, where we share with Eddie, and then also then we get the word out for as services happen, are set up, expand, etc. But thank you very much for taking the time to come here.
Answer my question.
Brooklyn, we have to move on to the rest of the business of the meeting. So I appreciate it. We can continue the conversation after. Thank you.
And I'll just add that I hope this isn't the last time I visit. So I hope to come back and kind of provide more of an update as this work continues.
Thanks. Okay. Thank you, folks. We will, we've got about 15 minutes left. So we're gonna breeze through the rest of the agenda here. So briefly just checking if there's any community organizations in the room or on Zoom that would like to provide any updates, such as the Boosters or Center for Opportunity or Friends of Pier Park. Would you mind coming up to the microphone? And we'll keep it to, yeah.
Good evening, I'm Mary Ann Ashenbrenner, and I am with Friends of Pier Park. I'm just here with an update. We are still working with parks to get the pier pool reopened. We will be meeting with Adina Long. And tomorrow night, we're having a meeting to discuss with questions and discuss with her. She has made preliminary agreement to get maintenance done, get the pool reopened. So we're working with her to make sure that actually happens. In the meantime, go ahead and check our website. We're keeping everybody up to date on that. It's friendsofpurepark.org. We've written a couple of very good posts on there that everybody should read, especially if you're interested in environmental justice or equity. And again, friendsofpurepark.org. I'm Mary Ann Ashenbrenner.
Thank you very much. Anybody else? We've got a hand on Zoom. Yeah, go ahead, Donna. If you got 90 seconds, that'd be great.
Yep. 90 seconds. Just want to say that, we're still working on the emergency route situation. Thank you to RJ, who's really been helping. We could use more people. I mean, it's going slowly because there's basically RJ and me that have been working on this, and a couple of other people who are gonna help out certain times, but we really do need to build up a stronger core of people and of organizations that are committed to seeing that we have emergency routes for when that earthquake comes. So please let me know or let RJ know if you're interested in being part of that. Okay. Thanks, RJ.
Thank you, Donna. Thanks for all your work. I know we talked about in the library discussion about how the biking route is not super great to any of the other libraries. Well, part of that has to do with the bridges over the cut, which is what Donna's working on in their state of disrepair. It's a very fun situation. I encourage you all to, if you don't already know, maybe just live in ignorance. Actually, it's better that way because those bridges are going to come tumbling down, and yeah, it's fine. Go ahead, Jack. You want to come up and update? Yeah.
Hi, everybody. I'm Jack Rudo. I am what did our library friend say? Community engagement chair for the St. John's Bachelors Club. I've lived in North Portland since 2000, and St. John specifically for 6 years now. I am actively one of the new blood of St. John's Bachelors. None of us are actual bachelors. His brother Patch in the group. I'm actively trying to make this not the creepy, weird building next to the farmer's market. I was here at the parade day this year, had an open house. People come in, see the space. We are open for rentals, and it's way below anything else you're gonna find. We have a full bar. And when I saw that, I haven't come to meetings pretty regularly for the last 2 years. And just want to thank everyone that came out tonight and gave us a chance here. As of course, I'm glad that we got most of the AV stuff straightened out in time for the meeting. But the St. John's Bachelors Club, has been in St. John's since 1909, in this building since the 40s. And we are now have a new push to be more active and interactive with our beloved St. John's community. I just wanted to say hi and thank you all for coming tonight to our building. Thank you.
And we've got Nikki from SJCO dropped an update in the chat. That's the St. John Center for Opportunity. Their workforce navigator is now working out of DHS in St. John's every Wednesday, 10 to 2 in Suite D. We can share that information. We'll put it into the minutes and share that information out if anybody is looking.
Where is the DHS?
I was worried somebody was going to ask that. I have no idea where the DHS is.
Okay, so whatever, I don't know if they're referring to that. So where the health center is down there by the 7th.
And then Tom's in the chat on the St. John's Food Share. They're in the Willamette Week Give Guide and the Oregonian Season of Sharing. So if anybody is feeling generous, wants to support the St. John's Food Share. All right, we're gonna move on now, and
actually we'd match UPNA challenges SJNA to match $100 to go to the St. John's Neighborhood Association. You can do that later. I just wanted to make sure you had that note.
Thanks, Tom. I think it's to the St. John's Food Share. You're saying to.
We're providing matching. We'll match $100 from St. John's Neighborhood Association to go to St. John's Food Share.
Well, and this is a great segue into the next segment, which is the community corner, which is anybody can bring anything forward. So basically, anybody can bring a motion. This isn't like it has to be a board member, it has to be me or anything like that. Actually, I can't even bring a motion. But anybody actually can. So we always have this part of our meeting to where you can ask questions, raise a concern, or bring a motion if you like. So if somebody wanted SJNA to donate $100 to the St. John's Food Share, you could motion to do so. So yes.
I'd like to make a motion that SJNA donate $100 to the St. John's Food Share.
I would like to second that motion.
To be part of the matching studies.
Great. And real quick for the record, can I get your first and last name? Yeah.
Ferguson.
Great. Thank you. Don't do it before. Oh, okay. Yeah. Okay. So there's a motion on the floor to donate the $100 to the St. John's Food Share, of which then the board and Bernadine would go about the process of making the donation and do so in the making sure that matching funds are accessed.
Looks like I'm donating it.
Yeah. That's what you said.
And I don't want it right away. We'll talk about how to do it so it gets into the Willamette Week. And then that money will be matched by other people. So you're not only putting $100 to match UPNA, you're matching it all together. So your $100 becomes $300.
To be part of the matching program.
And Brooklyn, you still second this motion? Now. Would anybody like to provide, this might be a good time to do the treasurer's report before we decide on like fiscal expenditures. I don't, if you would like to bring that forward, we can enter into any sort of, yes. Well, we'll have to close this one out before moving on to a new motion, unless you would like to amend or propose a different. Okay, so, but yeah, we'll have to close this one out before moving on to any other further motions, but yeah, Bernadine.
Motion, second.
Yeah, and
So
we
now
can,
you've got discussion.
exactly, yeah, so would you like to submit anything to the discussion, or are you fine leaving the treasurer's report out of this, or? Leave it out,
Leave the treasurer's
yeah,
report out.
okay. I guess as a point of context, do we want, like, we have $4,000 in unrestricted funds, like, you know, like, yeah, like fiscal health.
So like, did we get a point of clarification for, you know, what our budget is for?
Anything in regards to donating to other organizations. Yeah. That is something emotional. Like to see it stated, because that just states I would be writing a check to food share. It doesn't say anything else about going through UPNA to something else.
Tom, would we have to do anything to unlock the matching funds other than just write a check to the St. John's Food Share?
Actually, we're still dealing with Willamette Week on how to match all of this stuff, but our idea here was to match it to the X amount. So UPNA will match it to whatever you do to St. John Food Share, period. But what we'd really like to do is be able to then match that together so that $200 becomes $400 through the Willamette Week on, you know, when they're giving guides. So that's what it is. So $100 is the ask, and we can deal with the specifics as to when it goes, but it'll go to St. John Food Share.
It would be a donation to the St. John's Food Share via the
Absolutely.
in November.
It to the date to be determined. So we'll talk to you about that. It's an issue of how to match the money from Willamette Week, their giving guide. What you're trying to do is create, you know, you've seen it all the times. Somebody will match your money. Well, I'm providing you the opportunity to double match your money.
Can I just give a point of clarification?
Yeah.
On this motion? So just in case you didn't hear what Bernadine and I were.
Sorry,
discussing about-
do you mind doing it at the mic? Yeah.
Just in case you couldn't hear what Bernadine and I were discussing, we're here to give you information on this motion. So currently, we do not have any line item approved for donations out of our budget. We set the budget at our board retreat in June. Anyways, just want to, like, point of clarification, not to say you can't do this, but you be pulling money from potentially other buckets and other areas.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Any other information, Bernadine, you'd like to share?
No, we can maneuver if the group decides
Mhm.
that's what they want to do.
Yep.
And stuff, then we do have unrestricted funds.
Right.
And stuff, the board can decide then where that money, if we needed to pull it from one line item to create another, or if we need to go back in and bring a whole new amended budget to have the general membership approved for that, or it's strictly out of the unrestricted amount.
Yeah.
This though then opens us up to other organizations coming and asking us for money,
Yes. Yes.
and that might become a financial issue.
Yeah, Bernadine's point here, if approved, the board would allocate the funds and potentially have to bring a revised budget for approval at the next general meeting. And also bring the point that there are many other organizations that are looking for donations, and we are have very little fiscal support from the city or other avenues. And so if we were to donate, say, to the parade, the bazaar, to the food share, one or two others, our unrestricted funds would be severely limited. We currently have about $4,000 in restricted funds. A sponsorship to the parade was $250 to $300. Same for the bazaar. So just something to consider in terms of
The other thing
allocation of
is,
funds.
I don't know if St. John's Food Share is a 501c3.
It is a 501c3.
Come speak
next month already. I'm scheduled.
Yeah. Norma is going to be presenting to you guys. I just wanted to make sure you got it put into your planning budget. Anytime in November, December is fine, but the money has to come through for this match from UPNA Challenge by December.
Thanks. Yeah, Seamus.
In looking at the budget, it looks like you have about 5,000 in unrestricted funds. I guess that doesn't necessarily mean you don't have that budgeted, because you can't see that here. But I would just say, for $100, it sounds like you could give several $100s to a local, very important nonprofit, and that's a question.
Great. So if we could, we'll go ahead and take the vote. We'll do it in the same way as for the elections. So if we're in favor of approving the $100 donation to the St. John's Food Share via the Willamette Week Give Guide.
RJ, I had my hand up. Let me can I say just one thing? Hello? Can you hear me?
Yeah.
Yeah, I just think, I mean, because I've argued this before, that we just are not a donor. We're a recipient of donors. You know, we're on the other side of the street. And I do think it's a mistake for donors to get into giving money to each other, because otherwise we can come back to the food bank too. I mean, ask them for what and I would just propose that a better way to do this, it's $100. There's like 40, 50 people in this room. If you had a Venmo thing, and then it's anonymous, there's no pressure, just say, hey, here's our Venmo. I'm sorry, I don't like people, I mean, this takes up a lot of time and it's $100. Give me a break. I just don't think this is a good use of our
Okay,
time.
that's fine. I'll withdraw the motion, the idea.
Well,
UPNA will not ask you guys to provide.
Tom, I mean, I like the idea, and I've given money to the food share before, and I would now, but I'd just rather do it as an individual through a Venmo thing than you know.
I think
we get the funds, like not from the ones we have, but we like set up a fundraiser where like people leave $10 on their way out, and that's what we donate.
I don't care how it comes up. This was the neighborhood association, UPNA, had money from a grant from another 501c3 to raise some money for the homeless and the houseless. And that was the area of the need was food. And so that's why we challenged the neighborhoods to all provide some funding to St. John Food Share to provide the food for everybody. But I understand the whole issues of the donations. If you don't want to, that's fine. That's fine.
Well-
But you have the opportunity for another 2 months. That's all it is. You don't have to deal with it right now.
And I mean, the motion isn't, the motion's been had, it's seconded, like, unless Beverly wants to withdraw, we'll be voting on it. So, yeah, great. So we're gonna go ahead and vote on it. So appreciate everybody's thoughts, concerns, sentiments, but we'll do the same thing as the elections. We'll do a hand raise. We'll look for a simple majority on this one. So for anybody in the room who would like to approve the $100 donation, please raise your hand. And if you're on Zoom, please use the raise your hand function. And then if y'all could count the in the room, and I will check out the on Zoom number here. Okay. You mind counting how many people are left in the room, because we've had people leave. Okay. Not including me, right? Sorry. Okay. Oh, yeah, we will do that right after I finish the count on here.
I'll count the vote.
No. So then, yeah, all those opposed to the motion to donate $100 to the St. John's Food Share, please raise your hand on Zoom. And if you had your hand raised, please go ahead and take it down. And then also in the room, we've got said 8. And then on Zoom, I see 6 no's. So we have 19 yes, 14 no, 6 abstaining. So the motion passes, and we will donate $100 to St. John's Food Share. Thank you, everybody. Now, there was one other, you're interested in making a motion. You good? Okay. It's 8:38 and it's time to go home, right? With that, we will do the quickest possible update. I like, in terms of the bottle drop, I shared it in the newsletter. The long story short is OBRC is looking for anywhere else to put the bottle drop than the current location. They have 2 years until their lease expires in Delta Park. They're going to take the foreseeable future to find a different location. In the past, they've shared that their timeline to like build out a place and get it open in time would be about a year and a half. So it seems like there's about a 6-month runway here until they potentially say, okay, have we found a new location or not, and what do we do? So yeah, for right now, it is them investigating other options. They have not applied with OLCC to make the Dollar Tree a bottle drop. So there's no application. There's been no public comment or anything around this. So OLCC is just kind of like, you know, nothing for us to do. There's no application. So it's just kind of sitting there, frozen, and we'll see if they find a location they deem as suitable for their needs. Yeah. So it was brought up in the room about, for those on Zoom, that heard that they were denied by the city in terms of their land use compatibility statement. What happened there was actually nothing. It was just canceled. In part, the city determined that they actually didn't even need to create one for them for this purpose. So on the application with the OLCC, when they submit to apply for a bottle drop location, the question is, does this location comply with like the necessary zoning? And they just check yes. And there's no, they don't need a proof. They don't need a land use compatibility statement from the city. In part because the statute says that it just needs to be zoned commercial, like the state statute that the OLCC is looking at. So as long as it's commercially zoned, it is deemed compatible in their eyes, zoning wise. So that's why the city just said, you actually don't need us to make a decision on this. And so we're just gonna not do anything with it. So that's, yeah, in the minutia, but basically nobody thinks they actually need that. And so that's why nothing, like that's just gone and not a thing anymore.
Yeah.
It's, yeah, I get, you know, it ends up being where if they do put in an application for this location or any other one, the decision lies solely with the director of the OLCC, one person who they're not the commission or commissioners or anything like that. So for now, there's no application, so there's nothing for them to act on as the OLCC, but if there were to be one, it would be a 30-day comment period, and it would lie in the hands of that one person if they approved it or denied it. And they're a non-elected person, so. Yeah, so what I will say, one other thing is, the people that are currently in charge of OBRC and looking for new locations, they were not in charge when this building was purchased. They did not make this purchase. And so I would say, I think they feel as if maybe they wouldn't have done it. I don't, like, that's a complete conjecture, but like they have been dealt this hand and they are dealing with it. And so they are choosing to look for more locations. This was not something like, it's not that we're sitting across from a director of OBRC that made this purchase and is adamant that this is the right location for them necessarily. So that is, I think, part of, it's been relatively good faith from them so far, and that they have, you know, they've really continued to look at other locations. They revisited two that they had already been out to just to see if they were 100% sure that it wouldn't work. And so, you know, we'll continue to ask the questions of them and continue to, if you know any other places that would be a better fit for one of these, you can send them, send the listing their way. But I'm sure over the coming months, there'll be more meetings where we'll see where they're at in terms of finding a potential new location. But until then, it's kind of just holding pattern. So in the interest of time, we're going to move on and go to Bernadine's treasurer's report. And then unless anybody else on the board has key business, we'll call it after that. So please come on up, Bernadine.
There were printed copies of the treasurer's report on the back table when you signed in, if you needed to get one. Our general checking account. Sorry about that. Dealing with the other, I had the budget in my hand. The general checking account is from September 8th through October 13th. Beginning balance, $7,918.06. Income from the city of Portland, September 23rd was $660. This is a communications grant replacement check. This goes back to 2022. We never got the check. It never showed up at our mail at the NPNS office. And so we've gone through the process of seeking a replacement. And it's taken them since they had all the signed paperwork from February until now to get it back to us. But we've got it. The other income into the general checking account is from the art fund. And this was September 30th. This is money transferred from the art fund to the general checking account to help pay for the paint for the street mural there at Seneca and Tyler and stuff. That's $100.04. Total income, $760.04. MailChimp, which is our email service, $38.25 on October 4th. Total expenses, $38.25. Balance as of yesterday, $8,639.85. Restricted of that is $3,085.60, and that's the Metro grant. That's what we got from Metro for helping cover costs for cleanups, for us getting dumpsters, for doing cleanups in the neighborhood, the big cleanups and stuff. That's what we have there. We have unrestricted $5,554.25. The next account that we have is the art fund. Same date range, September 8th through October 13th. Our beginning balance was $100.04. We had no income. We have expenses that transfer to the general checking of $104 for the street mural, leaving us total expenses of $100.04, leaving us with an ending balance as of yesterday, $0. Now our BottleDrop account, same date range, September 8th, October 13th, beginning balance $207.90. We had income of bags dropped, different amount, $44.90 total income, no expenses. Ending balance as of yesterday, $252.80. Any questions?
With the bottom of our money is pull that for anything or restrict that for anything?
What is, for the bottle drop money, is that unrestricted funds we pull? Like, how does that process work?
Okay, the BottleDrop money, the board, when the budget was approved, income from BottleDrop comes in. We've approved to take up to $450 out, which we've already done the beginning of this fiscal year, and that just goes into the general account. It's not specified for anything else. It just goes into the general account to be used.
Thank you.
Okay. Anything up on Zoom?
I do not see anything on Zoom relating to this.
Okay.
Okay.
And just so that people, because a lot of you are newer here in person, I don't know about up on Zoom and stuff. The art fund money that in that account, that was a restricted account because it was a grant that the neighborhood association received before I ever came involved. And the thousands of dollars that came in at that time, is what basically covered for the art mural on the side of Grocery Outlet. Okay, and then me and some of these current board members did do another expenditure of just a little over $1,000 a couple of years ago, but that was for upkeep, updating, and repairing that mural. This $100.04 in the art fund was restricted funds for art of some sort. And this came about for the street mural, and it was a great way to do it. I'm very thankful for the neighbors around that area and for the person, Brad Glenn, that took charge of that and stuff, because the paint alone was over $800. And that was even with a discount from a paint manufacturer. So, you know, we were very happy for someone to take over that project and be able to use the funds in a great way.
I just want to say that our St. John bike bus rides on Saturday, and it was a really lovely surprise for all the kids when they went over it. Yeah, it was really good.
Like, I'm new and first I've heard of this BottleDrop. Is there a place, a location you can?
I have BottleDrop bags here, the blue bags that have our UPC code on them for our neighborhood association. You can fill them up. You can get a hold of me. I'll come and pick them up, or you can take them to Safeway and drop them off at the door. It'll read the code, open the door, and you can stick them in there, and then they'll total it up and give us the funds into our account, or you can go to Delta Park and drop them off there too.
What's your email address? I have a bunch of things.
Huh?
What's your email address? I email you.
And so it's treasure@stjohnspdx.org.
Treasure at St. John's PDX. Thank
Yep.
you.
Okay.
Thank you. Thank you, Bernadine. And with that, with us being well over time here, so thanks for bearing with us in here and on Zoom. We'll close the October general meeting, the St. John's Neighborhood Association at 8:52 p.m. If you were elected to the board, please come on up to my Knights of the Round Table here. And if you're on Zoom, stay on for just a second and we'll do 2 minutes longer. But thank you, everybody. We really appreciate it and look forward to seeing you again soon. Have a great evening.